A young woman dives into the freezing English Channel with a Rolex hanging around her neck. For the next 10 hours, the world watches to see if she survives, but one man isn't watching her, he's watching the watch. Because if it stops ticking, his entire company could collapse overnight. What happened in those icy waters didn't just prove something. It created a watch people would trust so deeply, they'd never trade it away. Most things we own are temporary. Phones slow down after a few years, cars start to wear out, and even the most expensive things eventually lose their shine. No matter how premium something feels at the start, time always catches up to it. That's just how the world works. Everything is built with an end in mind. But Rolex saw time differently. Their obsession was never just about measuring it, but almost defying it. Instead of creating something that would last for a few years and then be replaced, they set out to build something that could keep going far beyond a single lifetime. They weren't thinking in terms of trends or upgrades. They were thinking in terms of generations. A watch that could be worn today, passed down tomorrow, and still continue doing its job decades later without losing its purpose. And that ambition led to something unusual, almost unsettling in a way. A watch that isn't just made to live with you, but one that's engineered to keep going even after you're gone, like time itself doesn't stop, and neither does it. In 1926, Rolex introduced something the world had never seen before, a completely sealed watch case. At a time when watches were fragile and easily damaged, this was a radical idea. Dust couldn't enter, water couldn't penetrate, and even the slow damage caused by time itself became much harder to take effect. It wasn't just a small improvement, it changed what people believed a watch could survive. They called it the oyster, a name that reflected exactly what it was: closed, protected, and incredibly tough on the inside. But this wasn't just a claim they expected people to believe. Rolex needed to prove it, so they did something bold. They strapped the watch onto a swimmer crossing the English Channel, one of the harshest environments imaginable: freezing water, constant movement, and hours of exposure. For over 10 hours, the watch stayed submerged in those brutal conditions, and when it finally came out, it was still ticking as if nothing had happened. This wasn't just about durability anymore. This was a statement, a clear declaration that a watch didn't have to be delicate, it could be built to survive. Then came the next evolution, something even more fascinating, a movement that powers itself using you. Instead of relying on a battery or manual winding every day, the watch was designed to capture the energy from your own motion. Every movement of your wrist, every small shift you don't even notice, slowly builds energy inside it. With each step you take, with every gesture, the watch keeps winding itself, quietly storing power without asking anything from you. There's no charging, no battery swaps, nothing to replace or run out. As long as you're alive and moving, it lives with you, staying in sync with your everyday life. And when you're gone, it doesn't mean the end for the watch. It simply stops waiting. A few turns of the crown, a little motion again, and it comes back to life, continuing its steady rhythm like it never truly left. This is what they called perpetual, a system designed not just to run, but to keep coming back again and again across time. But here's the part most people don't realize. Here's where things start to feel a little eerie. Rolex doesn't design watches to follow trends or keep up with what's popular right now. Their focus has always been something much deeper: continuity. The idea that a watch you see today should still feel familiar decades from now, not outdated or forgotten. The design barely changes over time. The look, the feel, the identity, it stays consistent, almost untouched by passing trends. And it's not just about how it looks. Inside, every part is made with the intention that it can be serviced, replaced, and restored, even many years later. A watch you buy today isn't just meant for you. It's built with the expectation that even 50 years from now, it can be opened, repaired, and brought back to life. Not discarded, not replaced, just renewed. It gets passed down, worn again, serviced again, and kept alive through different hands and different generations. At that point, it stops being just a watch. It becomes something more, a mechanical heirloom that carries time, not just for one person, but for many. Think about it for a moment. Everything about this watch is built with survival in mind. The steel is made to resist corrosion, to handle years of exposure without breaking down. Inside, the movement is tested again and again under extreme conditions, pushed far beyond normal use just to make sure it keeps going no matter what. The craftsmanship isn't focused on chasing trends or adding flashy features. It's focused on one thing: longevity, making sure the watch doesn't just work today, but continues to work years, even decades into the future. There's no rush to change it every year. No constant redesigns just to make the previous version feel old. it doesn't follow that cycle. Because the goal was never to replace it. The goal was to build something that never needed replacing in the first place. And this isn't just a claim, there's a reason behind it. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual is built on a few simple ideas, but executed at an extreme level. Instead of adding complexity, it removes it. No extra complications, no unnecessary features. Just a clean, time-only design that reduces the chances of anything going wrong. It starts with the oyster case, a completely sealed structure first introduced in 1926. The bezel screws down, the case back locks in place, and the crown tightens like a hatch on a submarine. This keeps out water, dust, and moisture, the very things that usually destroy a watch over time. Then comes the perpetual rotor, a mechanism that uses your natural movement to keep the watch running. No need for constant winding, which means less stress on the parts that are most likely to wear out. It protects the watch simply by how it works. The material itself is different too. Rolex uses a special kind of steel, known as oyster steel, which is far more resistant to corrosion than standard materials. Even after years of exposure to water, sweat, and air, it holds its strength and finish. Inside, the movement is designed to handle shocks and magnetic fields, things that can easily stop an ordinary watch. Small innovations like shock absorbers and a special hairspring make sure it keeps running even in conditions that would break others. And with basic care, like servicing it every few years and keeping the crown sealed, this watch doesn't just last long, it keeps coming back. That's why you still see models from the 1950s and 60s still ticking today. Owning something that outlasts you changes the way you see it. At first, it might feel like just another object, something you wear, something you own. But over time, that feeling starts to shift. It stops being just a possession and slowly becomes something more meaningful. You begin to see it as a timeline, not just your time, but the time it carries through different lives, the moments it has witnessed, the years it has quietly measured without stopping. Your time, the days you lived with it, the memories attached to it. Then maybe your father's time, the life he lived, the moments he experienced while wearing it. And one day, it could even become your child's time, continuing its journey on a different wrist in a different life. It doesn't speak, it doesn't change, but it stays, watching, measuring, continuing. It becomes something almost invisible, yet deeply present, a silent witness to generations. You're not paying for a watch, at least not in the way most people think. You're paying for something that refuses to become irrelevant, something that doesn't follow the usual path of being exciting today and forgotten tomorrow. Everything around us ages. It loses value, loses attention, and slowly fades into the background. But this is different. It's built in a way that resists that cycle, holding its purpose and identity no matter how much time passes. It's not really about luxury, status, or showing something off. Those things come and go. What this offers is something much harder to find: permanence. The idea that what you have today will still matter years from now, maybe even decades later. And that's what makes it so valuable. Because permanence is rare. One day, everything you own will stop working. The things you rely on now will break down, become outdated, or simply disappear. What feels important today will slowly lose its place in your life, replaced by something newer, something better, something temporary once again. But somewhere in the middle of all that change, there might still be a Rolex Oyster Perpetual, quietly continuing its purpose. No noise, no attention, just a steady rhythm that doesn't care about time passing the way everything else does. Ticking second after second, day after day. Long after you're gone, it could still be there, doing exactly what it was made to do, untouched by the idea of an ending. And that's the most fascinating part. That's exactly how it was designed.